Welcome to automateNow. I'm Marco Cruz. In today's video, we're going to learn how to work with multiple open windows using Selenium WebDriver. Let's dive in. Here we are on automatenow.io, the sandbox page. And we're going to scroll down to where we find this button here for Twitter. Notice that when I click on this button, a new window comes up. So now we're dealing with two open windows. We're going to learn how we can switch to a newly open window. Let's go to the code. So we're going to add two new methods to this base page class. The first method is going to be called getWindowHandle. Let's go ahead and write it. So we're going to say public, and this is going to return a string. Now we're going to say return driver dot, and notice that here we have different methods that we can call. In the past, we have used find element, manage, navigate, and many others. Today, we're going to be looking at this method here called getWindowHandle. We're also going to be looking at this one, getWindowHandles. This getWindowHandle returns a string, which is basically an alphanumeric ID for the current window that you're working on. The next method we're going to write is called getWindowHandles. And this method is going to return a set of strings. So we'll say set string. And we need to import this class. Now we're going to say return driver dot, and this time we're going to select getWindowHandles. This getWindowHandles method returns the ID for all the windows that are currently open. Now that we have these two methods, let's go back to the website and let's take a look at this element here that we're going to be clicking. So let's right click on this element to inspect it. And now we need to build a locator for this element. So we're going to type Control F, and since we have this span tag here with this Twitter text, we're going to use that as a locator. We're going to say / span. Inside brackets, we're going to call the method called text equals, and then in quotes, we're going to type the text Twitter. Now we have this XPath locator that we can use to locate this element. Some of you have been asking why I'm not using tools such as CrowPath or Selector Sub to build my locators. And as you can see here, I do have those tools installed on the browser. However, as I mentioned before, I want you to get really comfortable writing your own XPath and your own CSS before we move on to using these tools. I have created a video tutorial on how to use Selector Sub, so feel free to search for that video to get a sneak peek of this tool. In future videos, we're going to start using this tool more often. For now, let's go ahead and use this XPath that we created. And we're going to go to our sandbox test class. And here I have created a method. I'm calling this method test multiple open windows. So the first thing that we need to do is to click on that Twitter button so that a new window will open up. And to do that, we're going to call sandbox page, and we're going to create a method in there called click Twitter button. Now let's go ahead and implement that. Since a new window will open up, we're simply going to return void. We already have a method for clicking on elements, so we can just go ahead and call that now. Now we need to go ahead and add the locator for that button. Let's go up to the top of the class and add the locator here. Let's go back down to the method and use that locator in here. Now let's go back to our test. Now that we have clicked on that button and we have a new window open, we need to switch to that window. So we can say sandbox page that switch to new window. I will be explaining why we need to switch to the new window, but for now, let's go ahead and implement this method. This is just going to return void. So let's go ahead and write the steps that we need to perform here. The first thing is going to be get the current window handle. We're going to put that in a string, and we're going to call the string current window. And here we're going to call that method that we wrote earlier in the base page class, which is called getWindowHandle. Next, we need to get the window handles for all the windows that are open. Recall that we also have a method in our base page class that we already created, and that method returns a set of strings. So here we're going to create a set of strings, and we're going to import that class. We're just going to call this handles. Now we can call the method in our base page class, getWindowHandles. Now here comes the fun part. Please stick with me. Now we're going to switch to the new window. To do this effectively, we're going to use an iterator. And we say iterator, and this comes from the Java utils package. This is going to be of type string. We're just going to call it iter. And here we say handles.iterator. Now let's go ahead and create another string here. We're going to call this one new window. And we're going to set it to null for now. Next, we're going to use a while loop. And here we say iter.hasNext. And here we're going to say new window is equal to iter.next. Next, we're going to use an if statement. And we're going to use the not operator. And here we're going to say current window dot equals new window. And this is the magic part. We're going to say driver dot switch to. We can use this method to switch to different contexts. For example, if I say dot, notice that I can switch to a window, to an alert, to an active element, default content, and other things. We're going to select window because we're trying to switch to another window. And here we're going to pass the handle for that new window, which is new window. Before I explain all these lines of code, let's go back to the website because I need to explain something to you guys. If we are working on this current window and we click this button, a new window opens. Let's say that we clicked on that button and this new window opened up. And now we want to check for some text in this new window. If we send the command to look for that text, the test will fail because it will still be looking for the text in this other window over here. In order for Selenium to understand that we are using a new window, we need to switch to that new window. Because otherwise, any commands that we send are going to be interpreted and acted upon by using this other window here. Now let me explain the code to you guys. Notice that the first thing that we did here was to click on that Twitter button. And the next thing we do is to switch to the new window. And the reason why we're doing this is because we want to understand where we're starting from. We want to get a reference point. And that is because even though we clicked on that Twitter button, Selenium still thinks that we're still working on the old window. So when this line executes, we're going to get the window handle for this window over here, the sandbox page. Next, we get all the window handles. And this is going to return a set for all the open windows. So we're going to get both of the windows, this page here and this new page here. And here we have the code for switching to the new window. And here we have this iterator. And this is going to allow us to iterate or cycle through all the window handles. Next, we have the string called new window. And we're going to use this to store the handle for the new window. Next, we have this while loop here. And the condition for this while loop is this iter.hasNext. And what this is basically saying is that as long as we have items in this set, we're going to perform this operation. And the first thing that we do here is we set the value for the current item that we're looking at in the set, and we store that in this new window variable. And this exclamation point is saying if the current window does not equal the new window, meaning that if we're not looking at the original starting window, then we're going to go in here and switch to that new window. Please keep in mind that this set here is going to contain all the open window handles. And that's why we're performing this check in here, to make sure that we're not looking at the existing window that we're on. As soon as we encounter the handle for the newly opened window, then this statement in here is going to execute and we're going to switch to that new window. So let's see what we want to do once we switch to this new window. Perhaps we just want to check the page title. So let's go ahead and inspect this window. And if we look at the head tag, we should find a title in here. And indeed, here we have a title tag. And it says compose new tweet /Twitter. So we're going to use some of this text in here. Perhaps we're just going to refer to Twitter. Let's go back to our test. And we're going to create a string. We're going to call this one page title. And we're going to say sandbox page dot get page title. Next, we're going to write an assertion. And we'll say assert true page title dot contains. And here we're going to pass in Twitter. And we'll add an error message. And that should do it. Let's go ahead and run this test to make sure it passes. and we said that the new window opened and its title was verified. The test passed. Now let's see what happens when we do not switch to the new window and run this test. I'm going to go ahead and comment this out and run the test again. And notice that this time the test failed and we have an assertion error. It says the new window title does not match. To show you a clear picture of what's happening, I'm going to put a print statement here after this line. I'm going to say system.out.println, and I'm going to pass in page title. So this line here is going to print whatever page title we obtain from this line. And let me put a breakpoint here and run this again. And notice that here we have printed the page title and it says Sandbox automateNow. So as I explained earlier, unless we switch to that new window, we will not be able to perform any validations on it. I hope you had fun learning about window handles. I would love to hear your feedback on this one. Please let me know if there's something you do not understand so I can help you better. In the next video, we're going to learn about the difference between driver.quit and driver.close. See you then.